Alright, well hey friends, as you can see, our one-day project has turned into a two-day project. Kind of because I was going a little slow on those measurements, but the other reason is because Mother Nature didn't want to cooperate. As you can see, still kind of going to be hit or miss today, so I'll film as much as we possibly can today. If not, I'll just finish this whole thing out with just a bunch of pictures once we get it all together. We did make some progress yesterday off camera. Again, it rained a little, then it stopped. We did a little work. It was off and on. So let's take a walk around and look, and I'll show you what we got done yesterday. Alright, so first things first. So we decided we're not going to go with the pickets. We decided we're going to go with this hog wire instead. So right here you can see we framed it up. I don't know how well you can see that wire in there, but we framed it up. We got some 1x4s, so we just kind of have it sandwiched in there. It'll make more sense here in a second. So that's what we're going to do. So we started building that, framing that all in, getting the dimensions done, and getting there. And over here on the actual deck, we started to just lay out the boards. We got the hardest board, the one that took me forever to measure. That took an eternity for me to get those measurements right for that first board right up against the house. As you can see, we scuffed up the house a little getting it in there, but we got the board in, right amount of pressure. And then the second thing that happened was we started drilling the screws in to screw those back two down. The cordless died, and then the plug-in that I have is probably 30 years old, didn't have enough power to push the screws. So today we're going to finish this up. We're going to get this deck laid out, secured down. We'll finish up the measurements on the railings and get those secured, and then hopefully the rain holds out, we can put one more coat of that Thompson's water seal on there and get this thing finished up. So let's see what we can get done today. Alright, so I already started screwing this this board down yesterday. I got a nail countersunk here. We got one countersunk on the other side. As you see, I started this screw, so I'm just going to finish this one off here. Alright, and then a little bit of water, thank you Mother Nature. And I'm going to butt these boards up. I'm not going to leave a space in between them because I already know that they're pressure treated. And they're going to shrink. So give me a couple screws out here. I know my measurement on this side is going to be 1.25 inches. So I'm going to line that up right at 1.25 inches. And then we're going to tack this bad boy down right here. So now I do have a gap right here. What I need to do is need to figure out how I'm going to close that gap. It'd be ideal if I could put a clamp over this, but I don't have enough space back here to do a clamp. So just push a little, that's not going to work. Let me go look in the tool chest and see what I can figure out. Alright, so what I'm going to try to do is I have a crowbar here. I put 2 screws in just to hold this crowbar. I have my second crowbar. I'm going to slide in here. I'm going to use an old piece of scrap wood so I don't tear this up. And I'm going to try to push this over without that coming up. I'm going to have to secure the far end first, and then I'll be able to push this in, I think. See if this is going to work. We closed it up a little. I didn't close it all the way, but it's good enough. This is a deck we're not going to walk on every day. Just a little side entrance to the bedroom over here that nobody really uses. So with all that in mind, we'll go on to the next board. Again, we're going to check for the crown. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. This one doesn't have much of a crown. It's just pretty much a straight piece of board. So I'm going to lay that there, see how that looks. Lay it there. There you go. That flushes up real nice. Find my 1.25 inches. about 1.25 inches, 1 1/8. There we go. Okay, so here you can see what I'm talking about with the crown. See, if I hold it this way, there's a center knot, and then all of the lines on the side are curving down. That's the way you want to install the board. Because if we do it this way, where all the curves are curving up, then if this board starts to warp and bend, it's going to bend up. If we do it this way, where it's all pointing down, if it does start to curl, it's going to push down onto the underlayment below it, to the support below it, and it's not going to curl as much. So make sure you check your boards and do it that way. Alright, so I finished all the screws up on the decking. Kind of boring, didn't think you wanted to watch all that. Now I'll finish the screws on the steps. Still kind of boring. You probably don't want to watch all this either. So I'll probably fast forward it throughout the entire thing. But that's where we're at. Alright, so here you see the markings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a circular saw to cut these long lines here. And I'll take it right up to the edge there. Circular saw. And I use a circular saw to cut these short sides here. And I'm going to try to use that little handheld reciprocating thing that I got from Harbor Freight. If that doesn't work, I'm going to bust out the jigsaw. So yeah. So a couple different tools, and that's what we're going to do. Alright, so I just decided to go straight for the circular saw, the jigsaw, because I had a lot of trouble with these little blades staying on yesterday. I think I'm missing a piece off of that little saw, so I don't even want to mess with it. It took my frustration level to the nth degree yesterday, so I'm not even going to mess with it today. So let's do some cuts and see how they go. So I'm just lining up my blade with the line and my 0 marker on my saw, and then I'm just going to cut it straight back. See, I just took the circular saw straight to these lines right here, straight to the end, so I didn't overcut it, so it looks a little decent. Now I'm going to just finish these off with the jigsaw straight away. Alright, that board's done. While we're here, we might as well cut out the other one, and then we'll go check for fitting into both. Important to remember with this jigsaw, don't push too hard because you'll snap that blade in half. Trust me, I've done it plenty of times. You're going to want to push, 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 but you don't always have to. Alright, just let the blade do the work itself. Everything's cut out. Let's go check and make sure it fits. in. You might be wondering why I didn't measure right here. Check to make sure we're the same distance as this board. Honestly, at this point it doesn't matter. I've already cut this, got it in place. There's no way this is coming out again. So it doesn't matter. So I just screwed it in place. There was a 2x4 here that came off, so I forgot to replace. So I'm going to have to come back later and slap that in there. Here you go. Last little piece I got to figure out right here. It's not going to be a full piece of board. I have about 1.5 inch overhang, so I'll need a board, probably a 4-inch board is what I'll go with here. Alright, I got that piece cut out. I'm just going to make some measurements here. Got some 2x4s just to help hold this up somewhat flush, so I can make sure I'm making my marks correctly. So on top here we have 1 3/8 overhang. So get this lined up, 1 3/8 overhang here. And I'm going to use my speed square just to mark my lines right here. So I know that's the edge of the post. Here's the edge of this post. I'm going to measure back and figure out how far. I think it was 1.5 inches. Alright, let me go cut this out. You don't need to see this again. And then I'll be back. See how this works out. Here we go. Alright. All our stairs are in place. I have this little extra piece of 2x4 I got to put over here, since I forgot it earlier. Just make sure it's long enough. Yeah, that's perfect. I'm just going to throw a couple screws in this first. When I get underneath there, I can just screw it. I got a shorter bit. Alright, let's see how this goes. Well, the drill battery died. Gotta love it. Alright, so while we're waiting for that battery to charge, so I can finish putting those screws in, I'll come up here and I'll show you what we're doing with the side rails. So instead of doing pickets, we're going to do this wire looking stuff instead. And as you can see, like I said, we got rained out last night. I just did this in the garage, but the lighting was terrible, and just put it together. So essentially, we got this hog wire, and I'm going to sandwich it in between a 2x4 and a 1x4. The 1x4 will go on the inside and look nice and pretty. The 2x4 on the outside, so that we have something to fasten to, and then we have something to fasten the top of the handrail to as well. So I'm just going to get this laid out. I'm going to measure about a 1/2 inch from the top of the, about 2 inches from the top of the top rail, which is closest to you. Mark a line with the speed square, and then that way I make sure I keep my line flush all the way across. Alright, so I'm going to use this speed square right here, is about 1.5 inch mark, and I'm just going to draw a rough line on this board. It doesn't need to be super precise. Again, this is just a kind of a guide for me to attach the wire. So I just set the speed square here. I got the 1.5 inch mark right there. I'm just going to push and pull at the same time with the square and the pencil. Try to keep it there as best I can. Sometimes it gets caught in the grooves of the wood, so it'll go awry. But again, I'm just kind of giving myself a general marker for where the 1.5 inch mark is. So that just gives me a general idea Now I can bring my wire over here, get it lined up, and staple it in place. Alright, so now I got these sides squared up, 25 3/8 inside diameter, matches the inside of these 2x4s on this one. And now I'm just gonna kind of set this down. I kind of flattened it out a little bit already, and then we're just gonna staple this guy in place. So that might be absolute overkill for the total number of staples that I need in this thing, but I want to make sure it's secure, so better safe than sorry, huh? But if you feel like it, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. I don't know, maybe I need half as many staples, maybe I need 2 times more staples. I don't know, I'm just making this up as I go. Alright, so now I have my 1x4s here. I'm going to set these down on the bottom with the pretty side facing down towards the ground, so that will be what's facing out once I flip this over, and I secure the 2x4s to the 1x4s. So then I'm just going to flush these up, top to bottom, left to right. Flush this up, top to bottom, left to right. Some of that wire bent up a little when I was stapling it, so you got to work around that a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Alright, and there we go. We're flushed up. Now let me go see if that battery's charged and see if we can get back to work. Alright, now we got everything flushed up for the most part. The battery's charged well enough. I'm going to take a couple of 2-inch screws, go through the 2x4. Like I said, this will be on the outside, so you won't be able to see it from the inside. Kind of hidden fasteners here. And then we're going to screw these bad boys in place. There you go. We're all fastened up. Nothing coming through the outside, or what will be the inside, so it'll still look nice and pretty. Alright, so now let's do some measurements for these insides, and we'll get that other one squared in. Alright, so here's one 2x4 I'm going to use that was scrap, and here's the other 2x4 I'm going to use on this side. So what I want to do is kind of want to make these tight. So I'm pushing apart these with this 2x4 just to make sure that I'm getting it as wide apart as I can to keep that wire nice and tight. So I'm at 25 3/8 ish. 25 3/8 on that side. 25 3/8 on this side. So we'll cut these to 25 3/8. And I'll cut them, once I measure 25 3/8, I'm going to cut them on the far side of the line. So I'm not going to make the line disappear, because I want it to be that full 25 3/8 to help keep those spread apart. I'll show you here in just a second. Alright, so here you see my line, my 25 3/8, right? This part over here to my left, your right, is what we're going to be keeping. So I'm going to line my blade up. See how I can still see the line? The blade is just a titch on the right hand side or your left hand side of that line. I just want to keep that full 25 3/8. So I'm gonna go right there. And then let's measure it to see if we did what we wanted to do. Yep, absolutely. If you can see there, we're right at 25 3/8. So now let's cut the second board and do the same thing. Line our blade up right there and let it fall. Now same thing, let's check that. 25 3/8, right on the money. Okay, now that we have these boards cut, let's see how they fit in there. Just like we wanted them. It's going to be nice and tight. So I'm going to line that up with that corner. I'm going to line that up with this corner. Roll it. I'm going to roll this 2x4 back a little. And I might have to hammer that a little. Well, a little too much, but that's alright. There we go. Bring it out flush to the edge right here. Bring it flush to this edge right there. I like it. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. Got that flush to that edge. This is flush to this edge. I'm going to pick this up and kind of roll it out a little. And then at the same time, knock that into place. And you see it wanting to roll up a little, which is fine. It means we have good tension on this wire, right? So now that's nice and taut. And then I can just go ahead and screw these in. Alright, now that's one pretty solid piece right there. I'm going to do the same thing with our 1x4s for this side, and we'll get this thing closed in. Alright, so I got these sideboards cut out here. As you can see, this wire is just sticking up a little bit, so I'm going to try to beat it down. Just a little. Alright, these are the two pieces I want facing out, because the back sides of these just aren't as pretty. So I'm going to put those facing down so I don't mess that up. I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to slide these under. And again, just getting it flush with the edge of the 2x4s on the front. Those are just for show, they're not really structural. Grab the drill, grab the screws, get it flushed up on the edges here. Just a few screws to help hold it in place. And there you go. Little gap at the top, but that's okay. That'll be underneath the handrail. You won't really see that. I'll just trim these metal pieces off, and that's one done, one to go. Alright, so as you can see, I got these screens dry fitted in here. Again, because this deck is about 9 years old, these 4x4s are kind of out of square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this flush with the top of each side. It's not going to be level, so I'm not even going to waste my time leveling it. I'm just going to get it down, and then I'm going to use this ratchet strap to help pull them together so that I can screw these into the 4x4s. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set some 3-inch screws here, just so when it comes time to, when I get everything where I want it, I get my distance about equal on the front and the back, then I can just go ahead and finish driving these screws in. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So a little trick with these screws, right? You start in straight. Once you get some purchase, you can just push the nail over and then set it at an angle. Alright, now we're going to see if the ratchet strap trick works. Yep, we're flush there. About a finger's gap. About a finger there. You go back in on this just a hair. Tight as a tick though. Alright, feels about the same on the front. We're all level. Let's drive these bad boys in place and get this thing secured. Alright, let's release the ratchet strap and see what happens. Whole lot of nothing. Good and secure. Now we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Alright, well I guess we missed all that. I thought I hit record, but I guess not. So as you can see there, I closed that gap up real nice. There's still a little gap, but that's okay. It was way bigger than that to begin with. We're pretty much level on the top, so when we put that handrail up there, we're good. So this part up here is done. Not too shabby for the first try. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. You see that 4x4 is still a little bit out of plumb, leaning out towards the left a little, but I don't know if that's something we need to necessarily fix right now. But we'll take a look at it. So I cut these out, cut my 45s just like we had talked about, right? So this end can connect down here, that end can connect up there. The problem is I did my measurements wrong. As you can see, I'm touching the top board. I'm off by about 3 inches. So it's 5 feet from the inside of this board to the inside of that board. I measured the board 5 feet altogether, then I cut my 45s. Wrong answer. So back to the store, need more wood, need it 5 feet exactly on the top from post to post. So from tip to tip, it's got to be 5 feet. So let's go get some more wood and we'll try this again. Six-inch gap. So I've been busy off camera making all the wrong cuts, doing all the wrong things. So since this is a rebuild, nothing is what it seems, right? So you can measure the top, measure the bottom, especially talking about the handrails now, and there's 2 different dimensions and 2 different angles. So we ended up going with 35 on the bottom and 37.5 on the top. So that's made it real difficult. But what I figured out is, once I got the pieces cut, right, so these are the side supports that are going to go in between to hold that fencing. So now that I got this cut made, I can take my front 1x4 that I'm going to use, and I can just line this up. The angle is the same on the end. I just make sure all my sides are flush, then I'm going to draw a line. And that's it. And now I know that's the right size for that piece. I don't want to use this piece right now though. I want to save that for later because I'm not 100% sure that's pressure treated. It's pretty old. So let's check this piece, check the angle. So this angle is off on this one. So I'm still going to just pull it back a hair. I'm going to draw a line here. That's my angle there. That's my angle there. Now I have the piece that goes with this piece. So we're going to call this number 1. I'm going to call this number 1. Now I still have enough board left over. Let's see if this angle is going to match up. Yep, it's pretty close. Close enough for government work. So then we're going to call this number 2. Now I'm going to call this number 2. Then I'm going to go ahead and set up the saw to make the cut. Okay, so now I have my board here. I got it pushed up tight against the fence, and I'm going to check my blade. It looks like we're right there. So if I look down, we're at 40½ degrees. All right, so my blade is going parallel with my line. It looks like the whole line's going to disappear right underneath that blade as soon as I pull the trigger. So let's make a cut and let's see. And she just disappeared. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. It should be about the same angle. Gonna just line that line up. Looks like the teeth are all touching the line. It's going to go right along it. So there's number one done. Now I know we had a different angle in here somewhere, but let me see if this is it. That looks like a little more. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to adjust it just a hair over. I mean, we're talking about ½ degrees here. So I think that's it. We're right at 40 degrees. Literally a ½ degree difference. You see, I missed a titch right there on the corner. I don't think that's going to make a difference because these are all just for show anyhow. But now we got those done. Let's move back over to the deck and get these installed. All right, so in theory, these should just pop right in here, right? Number one goes down here. That fits in there just fine. And like I said, this is just a cover, just to kind of trim that out a little bit to hide the end of those wires. So let's get this tacked in. Let's be done with this. How about that? Okay, enough goofing around. I'm gonna see. Nope, that's not gonna work. It would be helpful if I had a clamp that was deeper than this little clamp. See, that's just not gonna be deep enough to get over that and down to that. Just to hold this kind of tight. So as I screw in through the back, it pulls that in instead of pushes it out. You'll see what I mean in a second here. And then I just felt that pull that nice and tight. Bingo, boingo, bongo. Let's go up to the top. Get our number 2 in place. Little tap, little bang. So you might be saying to yourself right now, why is he building it on the deck, on the railing itself instead of like he did with the other ones? Well, again, this weather's been crazy today. Got real cloudy for a long while. It never rained, but I put the cameras up just in case. I didn't want them to get wet. While we were doing that, I went ahead and built this. I thought it was all good. And then once I put it up, I realized I had this corner of this upper rail all the way out here. I had these flush instead of canted back at just 35 degrees. So I disassembled the whole thing, took out every staple, and you know I like to use some staples. Holy moly. And figured that the easiest way for me to do this, to get everything right, was just to start installing the 2x4s for the railing supports, and then work my way from there. So that's what I did. And then that's what I'm going to do on the other side as well. Maybe not today, it's getting kind of late. Because I made the wrong cuts initially on this wood, I had to run to the store again, yep, trip number 3, and get some more wood. So so that might be it for today. I'll just have to pick the rest of this up after I get off work tomorrow or Tuesday and get the rest of it knocked out. But thanks for hanging with us. I promise we're going to finish this deck one of these days, and it's going to look beautiful when we're done. So hey friends, as you can see, we got it finished. Of course, most of it off camera. Between the weather and my work schedule, it just wasn't going to work out for us. I think we put enough content out there though that you get the gist of it and understand how we did this. So if you decide to embark on this endeavor yourself, you'll get the basic idea. So it's been a couple weeks now actually. I just decided I needed to come out here and film a good closing for you and show off what we did. Not too bad altogether. Like we said, we ran into some snags along the way. A bunch of trips to the hardware store to get some more lumber. A lot of lessons learned here. So overall though, I think it turned out great. Even though we used these 1x6s instead of 5/4 normal decking board, but they're holding up just fine. So as always, hit like, hit subscribe, share this with anybody that you might think is interested. And as always, thanks for coming by and be safe. See you next time.